Hey everybody, welcome to the Tom Rowland Podcast. We are brought to you by Brite. Brite is the maker of an entire line of cleaning products. I use it mostly for my boat, but man, for your RV, for your house, for your outdoor things, they've got stuff to clean everything. Today, we have a gentleman by the name of Jake Hutchison. Jake, you may recognize because of his long flowing locks of hair. He claims that growing his hair out is the best thing that he's ever done for business development. That's not something that you normally hear. Most people tell you to get a haircut and get a job. But that's not what Jake did. He grew his hair out and he manifested a job. He made a job. He goes out there and pitches to a company that he really likes, that he is really good at building rods and communicating on social media. He does that, he gets a job, and he's doing great with it. I like this story a lot because it's about grit and determination and making something happen in an industry that it wouldn't have happened otherwise. Here we go with Jake Hutchison right now.
Hello, my name is Jake Hutchison, and today I'm on the Tom Rowland Podcast.
Jake, what's going on, man? How are you?
Hello, Mr. Rowland. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad you could be on. I enjoy some of your posts on social. Want to talk to you about some of that and what you're doing.
Awesome.
You sent your bio, and I thought it was pretty interesting. You had a lot of parts in your bio that were interesting to me, and one of the things that stood out was that you have fished in a bunch of bass tournaments. Tell me about the first bass tournament that you ever fished in.
First tournament I ever fished in was in middle school. It was on a lake called Stark Lake in Orlando. It was with a tournament organization called Teen Sport Fishing Association. It was freezing cold. I had 2 spinning rods and 1 bait caster, which is not really traditional for a bass fisherman, but I was just getting into it, and that's what I had. And I caught a fish. I don't know how many fish I caught or how well I placed, but I had a ball, and I was in love with it immediately. Like, fishing was my life. I was on YouTube every day watching all the YouTubers at the time, learning how to fish, and then fishing everything I could and everywhere I could. But that's not about the tournament. The first tournament was, Stark Lake, and it was cold as heck, and I was in love with it after that.
So what was it about the tournaments that you liked so much and maybe different than just going out and fishing on a regular day?
I don't know. I've never thought about that, but probably the competitive aspect. I came from playing baseball, and I had to stop playing baseball, so I'm sure fishing kind of picked up that competitiveness, and I love being around people too. That's one of my favorite things, just hanging out and being around everybody. So that was fun too, and I maybe just showing off that you can fish compared to other people. Not that I was good, but
yeah, you learn a lot in the tournaments too. I mean, I think that that's been one of the things that I liked the most about tournaments was the speed of learning. Like, you're just seeing what everybody else is doing, and it's not like doc talk. Like, they actually went out and did it, and they did it under the same conditions that you did, and maybe somebody really caught them, or maybe they didn't, or whatever, and then you can kind of talk to people. That was one of the things that I liked the very most about tournament fishing. After that tournament, did you continue to fish the tournaments, or what was your path after that?
I did. So I fished those. That was probably my last year of middle school. I fished all through high school, and towards the end of it, I did pretty well and had a lot of fun. But I think senior year of high school, I kind of fell out of love with it. But in between the start of it and the end, I did a lot of tournaments all over Florida. We even went out of state for a national championship one time, in Pickwick, and we did as much as we could during the time. I did love it and had a lot of fun.
Nice.
Met a lot of cool people.
That can get kind of expensive, all the entry fees and all of that. How did you handle that?
It can get expensive. So when I first started doing it, my parents were footing the bill, and they were paying the entry fee for me, which was like $30. It was a great organization I was in, TSA, who kind of made it easy for people without a boat to get into tournaments, which I didn't have a bass boat yet, so it wasn't that expensive. But at a certain point, they're like, all right, Jake, I know you want this brand new Daiwa Tatula reel. It's $170. You're going to have to start making some money. And at that time, you could work at Publix in Florida. They're the only people who will hire a 14-year-old. And my parents were like, you can go work at Publix and get a job. And I was like, $6.75 an hour. That is horrible. That's no money. And I started making money myself instead of going and getting a job. There was this app called Nextdoor. It was like a neighborhood app that's still around today. And I would just post like Hi, my name is Jake. I'm a local middle schooler, high schooler, looking to make money to save up for college. I do mowing grass, moving, this, that, guided fishing trips. I'll teach your son how to fish. Like, I did everything to make money, and I made a lot of money for a kid, and I was able to get a bunch of cool stuff and do a bunch of cool things as a young person, which was really fun. And I learned a lot, like dealing with people and a lot of business skills that were.
What was the worst job that you did on Nextdoor?
The worst job I did was, you can see me, I'm not small, and I used to be bigger. I was always a big kid, and one time I ate a giant plate of leftover macaroni in the morning before I went to a sod job where we had to rip out a whole yard of sod and, and put it in a trailer, and that's actually happened twice, and I was throwing up, and it was horrible. So
wait, how does it happen twice after you have a terrible experience eating too much macaroni before you do a sod job? How do you let that happen twice?
I guess I don't learn from my mistakes.
That sounds like something that you would learn from, like that. Oh, no, thank you. No, I've had enough macaroni for today. And what was the best job? Guided fishing, probably.
That was really fun. Yeah, like I had a little canoe that my dad got for us, and most of the time I didn't even have a trolling motor. Sometimes I'd have a trolling motor, but I'd just be paddling people around this local lake, and I made good money, and it was fun. Like, I knew the lake very well, and the people always let me fish too. I liked that a lot. I was an under-the-table guide for a while, so that was a good job for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. And where did the rod building come in?
So through fishing tournaments, one of my buddies, Baylor McDaniel, started building his own fishing rods. And then also the pro fisherman, John Cox, who is like huge today, he signed on with Mudhole, where I work now, where I am now. And Mudhole sells all the parts for people to build their own fishing rods. And they also teach classes in the education to learn to build fishing rods. And I think I just saw them doing that, and I was like, this is cool. I want to try it. And my mom took me to Mudhole one day. It just, by the grace of God, somehow it ended up being 25 minutes from our house in Orlando. And she took me there. She bought me like the startup kit to start building rods. But that was like 2 weeks before Christmas. And she was like, I'll get it for you, but you can't open it and use it till Christmas. So that was a horrible 2 weeks. But once Christmas came, I opened it all up and I was ate up immediately and just could not stop building rods.
And you were excited about building them for yourself, or were you turning them over?
At first, I was just building for myself, and my father. We built a bunch of Florida Gator rods because we love the Gators. You can build them orange and blue and put the Gators decal on them. So that was cool. And then one day at Mudhole, they had this sale rack, and it was like $40 for a half-built rod. They were leftovers from a rod building class, and they already had the handle and the grips glued up. You just had to put the guides on, wrap it, and epoxy it. And I was like, I used my entrepreneurial brain, and I was like, well, if I can take this for 40, build it and sell it for 80, that's double my money. That's pretty good. So I did that, and I sold the rod for $80, and I was like, I like this. So I went back, got another one, did it again, and then kind of never stopped selling them, and then just got better at my craft, was able to charge more and started doing more repairs, and that kind of led to a little business for me for a while, doing custom rods for people around Orlando and around the state, and then also repairing rods too.
That's cool, man. How did you you're an entrepreneur from a very young age. Like, you saw that next door and you just like jumped on there. Where did that come from? Who taught you to be an entrepreneur?
My dad. He was an entrepreneur, and he like had us early doing stuff that was fun. I remember one time, this sounds crazy, but we went around the neighborhood, and I didn't know this, but there's mistletoe, like the stuff that you get around Christmas or New Year's, just hanging up in our trees. So we took like one of those grave digger things and reached up there and cut down the mistletoe, and then we went door to door and sold it to people. And
how much is a handful of mistletoe?
I don't even remember, but I have to assume like $10 to $15. We were probably selling it for $5. I would take anything probably.
Right. That's cool. I remember we did that. I had a little entrepreneurial thing going on, and we would shoot it with 22s. We'd shoot it out of the trees with 22s.
No way.
Yeah, these are back in the days when your parents didn't know where you were, no cell phones, and you just took the 22 and just went and shot stuff in the trees. Nobody cared. It's a different world now.
That's awesome.
And there was lots of land where you could just go and shoot 22s, and nobody was in danger or cared. But I don't think they'd let you do that today.
No,
but that's how we got it out. You were better, safer, for sure.
Where did you grow up? Where were you doing
Chattanooga, Tennessee.
That's fun. That
Yeah.
sounds awesome.
So there were a lot of like farms and just lots of big patches of woods like that you could just go to. And I don't know, nowadays there are probably houses and stuff built on all that stuff, or malls or something. But yeah, you could just do that kind of stuff. It's a different world, and that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, because you're obviously doing a tremendous amount with social media, and but I want to continue on the Mudhole, and we'll get to the social media here in a minute. But how did you get that job at Mudhole?
So, yeah, this is one of my favorite stories I've been a part of yet. So I was building rods, and after high school, I had a little shop in Orlando, and I loved it at first, and then I started to fall out of love with it, because I didn't love being in the shop all the time, like late nights and just being locked in there by myself. I love being around people. And if I think about it now, like I've always made videos. I have YouTube videos from like 10 years ago, and I can always remember making videos. And at that time, it was around 2020 probably, or 2021, Gary Vee was like screaming from the top of his lungs, "Get on TikTok and make TikTok videos, make 10 a day." And I just listened, and I was like, okay, I think I can do this, TikTok. I did it for myself, for my rod building business, and then I did it for a marine center called RNF Marine too, and I did well quickly. And I was like, I think I can do this for a business full time, and I don't really want to be building rods anymore. It's a good thing, and I have a good skill here, but I think I'm so young, and social media is just blossoming right now. I think I should take this opportunity right now, and I can come back later and build rods when I'm older. I can kind of do that anytime, but social media, when you're young, it's better to do it. So I got it in my head that I would do social media for Mudhole. And one day I kind of had some intuition. I was going to pick up an order, and I was like, I should probably bring some of my rods with me, some of my best work. And I did. I brought them in the car, and I went inside, and I was talking to one of the customer service guys getting my orders, and he just asked me, he was like, I've never seen any of your rods, Jake. Bring some in next time you come. And I was like, actually, I got some in the car right now. And I went and got them, and everybody kind of gathered around, all the workers, and the president happened to walk by. I don't know why, but he did, just at the perfect moment. And one of the guys who works here, Bob McCamey, he had kind of seen me grow up, and he got the attention of the president of Mudhole. He was like, you got to check out this young man. And he kind of introduced me and told him about what I was doing. And at the end of it, the president was walking away, and I pulled out my phone, and I was like, hey, I can make you guys a bunch of money on TikTok. Which was kind of a lie, because I had never made money on TikTok, but I was very confident in my ability to do so. And he was kind of like, And 2 days later, he called me and offered me a job, and I started working there just doing the TikTok 3 years ago now.
And so when you first start doing TikTok for a rod building company, what did you envision that the videos would look like at the very first, and how did you think that you would make them money?
So at first I thought I would show the operation, show what Mudhole is, because they had just built this brand new, beautiful 77,000 square foot location with a beautiful storefront, a huge warehouse. I was like, I can show this off, and I can just teach people how to build rods and show them how fun it is and how cool a custom built rod looks. So that's what I was envisioning and what I did at first. And what was the second part of that question?
Well, then, how did you think you were going to make them money?
So I didn't know how to directly do sales on social media, like where someone would buy on social, but I just knew that I could make appealing content that would make fishermen want to build rods. And it worked. Like we would see back then, we'd see comments like crazy, like, I just bought the rod building class. I just bought the rod building kit. And it was hard to track it at first, and it still is kind of hard to track, but you kind of see the social proof when you go out and fish somewhere and 4 people recognize you on the pier, and one of them says they bought one of your rod kits, and you go into a tackle shop and people know you. Like, it's hard to track all that online, but you see it in the world.
Yeah. And then from that first part of just trying to show off the facility and that, how did your videos change? How have they changed over time to either become more effective or change the subject or the content in some way to make it more effective or less effective? I mean, probably, we're all kind of, chopping through the jungle with a machete right now on social media because nobody's done this before. So it's all new. So of course, when you pivot and you try to do something that you think is going to be more effective, sometimes it turns out to be far less effective, and you go back to what you were doing before. Like, I'm sure you got some examples of that, but how has your stuff changed?
I think I've become a lot more refined. I always have been chopping through with a machete. Like, I'm not trained for this. I didn't go to college for it. I think I have the eye for it and understand, I don't know, the rod building. I fish, and then I understand social media. I've been on it forever, so I kind of just have that trio of skills that benefits this business particularly. If it was somewhere else, I might have done a lot worse, and it might not have worked. But I think Mudhole just worked out and made sense for me, and I was able to. Here's a good thing. I guess when I first started, I was me heavy. A lot of the videos were me recording myself and talking to camera, just because like I knew what to say. I knew what I thought people would want to hear, and then I knew about rod building. But as I've grown in the company and started to do more and take on more responsibility, I've had to pull myself off the camera as much, because it's really hard to be recording yourself and then editing and posting and managing all that across all platforms. So I've had to make a lot more faceless content where it's more showing the craft of rod building or techniques, and it's done well too. So I've just learned different ways to create. Like, if I'm creator focused, where it's me on the camera and I'm like the influencer for Mudhole, or it's just showing strictly the product and the craft of rod building.
Which do you think works better?
I think they both work very well. It depends. Like, you can follow trends. I like to follow trends and then just put like a rod building spin on it. And it depends what your goal is, actually. So if you're trying to build a brand and loyal audience, it can be very beneficial to have a face that people can recognize and see over and over again and start to like follow and like their personality. So I think that's done well for us, having my face on it. But it totally depends on your goal, I think.
What about your hair? Your face? It's your hair that's recognizable, dude. Like,
it is, and that's the best business decision I've ever made. I'm not joking.
Really?
To grow out my hair. Yes, like bar none. During COVID, I just started growing it out, and I was watching Theo Vaughn every day.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to get a mullet.
Nice.
And I did that, and then my brother was cutting my hair for years, and then I don't know if I stopped paying him or he just stopped cutting hair in general, but eventually I stopped getting haircuts, and it just grew out really long. So now they call me Farrah Fawcett or Leonard Skinnerd.
Nice.
But I had a mullet forever, but it's so recognizable. Like, I always say, use whatever you have to your advantage, and the hair helped me a lot because the mullet was getting really popular right when I had it, and I was putting my face on the videos at the time, so that helped me a ton, having recognizable hair. And I have a unique voice too. Some people hate it, some people love it, but I guess it's unique. So those two things have helped me quite a bit online.
It wasn't very long ago that people were like, you want to be a professional, you got to get a haircut and go to work, right? And you're the opposite. You got to grow your hair out and find and create your own job. I think that's super cool. Like that. I mean, it's right. Well, it is. I mean, it's just cool, and it's a good story because, like, so much of what we do on this podcast, and one of the reasons why I was interested in starting it at all, is to find that moment where people kind of decide that you're going to do this thing, and this thing is something that you really love to do. And in your situation, it's slightly different. Like, you were into the rod building, but then you also knew the social media, and you're like, I'm going to get a job at Mudhole. Like, I think that's super cool that you made that happen. How old were you when you did that?
21.
I mean, that's pretty young for somebody just to decide that you're going to do that and go and make that happen. It's pretty cool. I mean, it really is. In anything, in anything that you would do that. Of course, I think it's cool because it's in fishing, and that's amazing. But just to do that in anywhere when you're 21 is just to decide that that's what I'm going to do, and then to actually do that. I mean, you ever think about that you just kind of made that happen?
Sometimes. Usually when I have like nothing going on, just laying in bed, maybe I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Because a lot of times I get moving so fast and I'm on to the next thing, I forget to appreciate where I am and where I have been. But I've been thinking about that lately. Like, I really, if I think about what I loved as a child and what I would write about in our 4th grade Florida writing classes, like what I want to be when I grow up, I wanted to be a pro fisherman at some point, and I loved fishing. So, like, I'm living my childhood dream right now. I'm getting paid to make videos and fishing and go fishing and talk to Tom Rowland and be on people's podcasts. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that's one of the things that is the most interesting about the internet is like, it wasn't that long ago that to be a professional fisherman, there were basically a couple of paths. You could be a guide, you could be a pro bass fisherman, maybe you could be a mate, you could be a captain, and that's about it. I mean, other than that, you could maybe work in a tackle shop would be the next thing. But then, with YouTube and social media and so many other opportunities, or I guess you could be a writer, or a photographer, at times when magazines were really big. But those were kind of the paths. And now the path is limitless. Like it's completely limitless. Like you could, and almost like the most potential that you could have is to find a path that no one else has taken. Like,
you're right.
How do you wrap? Like, I'm a pretty good writer. I could take some pictures. I like videos, and I'm, into rod building, or I'm into fly tying, or I'm into, I don't know, whatever. And then it's like, what mix of that is super unique to me, and that no one else is doing or could do as well as I could do because of where I grew up or what my background was, or I don't know. I think that it's really cool to see people getting into not just fishing, but I've had people on this podcast that become a professional backpacker, become a professional, like all kinds of things that, even athletes, it's like, you don't even have to be the best now. You just have to be interesting. And a lot of times it's like people really gravitate to someone who is more like them. This person is making the same mistakes that I'm making, and we're going to go through this together, right? As opposed to, wasn't very long ago that you had to be Kevin Van Dam.
Yep.
And there's only one Kevin Van Dam. Like, there's some other guys that are up there, but there's only one Kevin Van Dam. So to aspire to that is very difficult and honestly quite unlikely for most people, because only one person can get there. But I don't know. Do you see that it's wide open like that?
Yeah, you described that very well. And another thing is the barrier to entry is so low now.
Yes.
Like, you can do everything with your iPhone, or you can at least start there. But there's something going on recently called de-influencing. Like, the same time that Kevin Van Dam was the number one goal and that it was almost unattainable, like, people who were online were like perfect. They didn't show their failures. They didn't show anything wrong. They might have had filters all over their face, and they were like the bad stigma of an influencer. Right. But now people want to see somebody relatable, like you said. They want to see somebody who talks like them or messes up like them or wins like them, but just somebody they can relate to online. I think that's becoming more popular. So it's letting a lot more people in online.
Yeah, certainly is. And that's great. And that there's there's certainly a path to get paid like that through the platforms. But what you're doing, I think, is way more interesting. Is you're taking your social media skills and your ability to communicate with people in the way that they want to be communicated with, and you're translating that into helping a company to be big on a platform that honestly seems kind of unlikely. Like, when you look back on it now, like TikTok videos about making rod building, okay, seems pretty good, but probably when you started, it was mostly dancing and other things on TikTok. And so what you've done for Mudhole was pretty unlikely at the time. You saw it, but I don't know that everybody else could see it. And so, like, where do you see like social media going with young creators like yourself who have an interest and can understand social media? How do they translate that? Like, there's one thing is translating that into the platforms like Instagram or Facebook or YouTube paying you per view. But then there's another angle of, I could go and be the social media manager for a certain company, or I could do things for this company that they don't even see any potential in right now, and it could be transformative. Yep. Where do you see that going in the next few years?
I'm glad you asked that, because when I was younger, I would have given anything for somebody to give me these answers. Like, I was on YouTube looking up like how to get a job in fishing, how to work in the outdoors, and that information wasn't present at the time. But what I would do if I had to start over, or if I was looking to pitch a new company, is I would create the content that I have a vision of working for them and pitch it to them. Like, don't just say, hey, I can do this for you. Go build a rod, video it, make the edit, and either post it or get in contact with them and show them. Like, you have to show them visual proof. Let them feel what you envision. That's what I would do. I would do everything I could to get in contact with them. Don't just call in and say, hey, I'm looking for a job. Find every single person who works there on LinkedIn and Instagram and message them. Like, get gritty with it. Find them on Twitter, message them, send them all your references. Do everything you can and use your connections that you have. Like, if you know one person who knows another person who works at that company, have them make that contact for you. But show the company what you can do and your vision. Show them. Don't just tell them.
Mm-hmm. And what about if they don't have a big social media following of their own, but they're a great creator? Like, there's tons of people like that have, 117 followers on something, but they make unbelievable content, and you're just looking at it like, I don't know why they don't have more followers. But I mean, that is the kind of person that these companies are looking for, that have these skills. Like, what about that? Is that important that you have your own large following? Or, I mean, because everybody's got to get started somewhere.
Yeah, when I started, I had like 2,000 followers on my personal Instagram and maybe 5,000 followers on the TikToks I was running at the time, which isn't a lot. But I think the content I was making, people could just see what it could be and the vision. Mm-hmm. So the same thing. If you know you have it, I would show them that proof. And I think, like you just said, we've all seen people who are like, they have 117 followers. Like, why is this person not famous? Why have they not blown up? I think if they just show that, if it's that person who wants to get a job somewhere, show that content to the company, I think they'll be able to see it. As long as they can see the content in the video and feel the vision, I think they have a pretty good chance.
Yeah, I do too. When you, now that you've been doing that, how long have you been doing it for Mudhole?
Probably 3.5 years.
Okay, so in 3.5 years, what has changed with the platforms themselves, particularly TikTok? TikTok is I'm the least familiar with TikTok. We're on TikTok and we do things, but I don't particularly. I'm an Instagram person. Like, I like Instagram probably the best, and YouTube maybe the next after that. Maybe then occasionally I go to Facebook, but I don't really go to TikTok very much for whatever reason. Just don't. What has changed with the platforms in the last 3.5 years that allows for sales directly on the platform, and where do you think that's going in the future?
A lot's changed, and I think that's only gonna increase. So TikTok Shop has been implemented, mm-hmm. And you can upload your products to TikTok Shop. And the cool thing about that is you don't even have to market it. If you have a good product and you get in touch with the right creators, TikTok Shop has it set up where it's a program where, like, if I make a video with somebody's product, people can buy the product right in TikTok, and I make a percentage of the sale. TikTok makes a percentage, and the person who's selling the product makes the biggest percentage, obviously. But you can purchase things right in TikTok Shop, and I have some friends who are doing that successfully right now. You can look at them. They're called Cinco Sticks, and they're on TikTok, and they're a rod building company. But they also do TikTok Shop videos where they talk about products they believe in, and they sell the product right in TikTok. I think that's going to get a lot bigger. Instagram and Facebook have done it for a while, but I have never seen it work very well. TikTok is the only place I've seen it work very well.
Why do you think that is? Is it just one is a little bit more burdensome or kind of not as easy to click through, or what is it that makes the TikTok one work better than the Instagram? Because I have bought a couple of things on, through Instagram, mostly funny T-shirts that I think are hilarious, that I want to wear at some point. And, I get marketed those things, and it's like, okay, I can buy that right here. And it's an easy way to buy, but I don't find myself buying, like, I don't get marketed fishing products there. I don't get marketed, like, I don't know. It's usually just like funny T-shirts and, I don't know, weird things like that. But I know that TikTok is definitely, people are selling a lot of stuff on TikTok. Why is it different?
I think TikTok puts way more focus and emphasis on it. TikTok runs their own ads and platform, teaching people how to create for TikTok Shop and how to be a seller on TikTok Shop. Like, you'll just be scrolling and it'll be a user-generated content, like a UGC video, where it's a person talking about their experience either selling or creating for TikTok Shop. So they're pushing that heavy. I know they have a team in the U.S. dedicated to that. We met one of the guys at ICAST who just does TikTok Shop for the outdoors, fishing and hunting. That's his sole job. So they're putting a lot of focus on that. And
wait, that person is like an independent contractor, or he's working for somebody?
He works for TikTok.
Okay.
TikTok overseas said, like, come to America, make TikTok Shop in America. And they assembled a team, and that was their task. And this guy works for TikTok Shop specifically, which weirdly enough is like a subsidiary of TikTok. They're not directly connected. It's like a totally separate team than regular TikTok. And they're based on the West Coast, and he works for TikTok Shop directly, just doing hunting and fishing stuff. And
wow.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
See, there's another way. There's another way that you can be in the fishing or hunting industry without being Kevin Van Dam. Like,
totally.
I mean, that's really super interesting.
I always say, like, kids, when we were kids, we wanted to be a pro football player, baseball player, basketball player. Everyone's not going to be that, but that doesn't mean you have to be completely out of the sport. Like, there's so many jobs. You can be a writer, an announcer, a photographer, a videographer. Same thing with the outdoors. Like, as Major League Fishing grows, as the Tom Rowland podcast grows, you're going to need more videographers, photographers, editors. That's the same thing across the whole industry. Like, as the industry grows, there's so many more jobs. Like, we have 100 people who work here at Mudhole. We have marketing guys, graphic designers, people who run the operations. You can still be working in fishing, but not be a pro fisherman. There's so many jobs available out there.
Where do the people, like the people that you're describing that are looking for these jobs, is there a place that they collect? Like, for people that are looking for these creators, is there a place that they could be found? Because it seems like there's a big disconnect from the companies that are like, man, we got to get better on social media, and then the creators that are like, man, I don't really want to work for like the fashion industry leads social media, right? Like they're and energy drinks and vitamins and stuff like that. They're like on the forefront of social media. But there's some people out there that are like, I really don't want to sell makeup. I'd like to be in the fishing industry. Like, where's the disconnect? Where can those people meet up in your mind?
I don't know. I think if I knew, I would have been all over that when I was younger. Because
I don't think it exists.
I don't think so either. Maybe we can create that.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm
that'd
down.
be a great idea to open an agency that is connecting fishing industry to potential. I don't know if anybody does that just for fishing. I've never heard of that. So,
well, it would be interesting for just the outdoors. I think I think fishing is one thing, but the outdoors people. And I saw it more at ICAST this year. I noticed in a lot of booths there was better creatives. There were, certainly more social directive kind of videos being played and different things. So it's happening, but I don't think that there is a place where young creators can be hooked up with a whole network of fishing companies or outdoor companies that would be interested in having some talent, because like that's a real problem a lot of times when you have a company that is very fishing focused and you have somebody that comes to you and says that they are a social media expert, but they couldn't tell you the difference between a largemouth and a smallmouth bass. In 2 years, they're not going to be able to tell you the difference between those two fish, and much less a marlin and a sailfish, or a black grouper and a gag grouper. That would be a complete impossibility, and that's not something that AI is very good at either. Like, you need somebody that knows about what they're talking about, and sometimes they're out there and they want jobs, and the other people want those type of creators, but they're not getting hooked up. That'll be our future project.
I think you made me think of something. I think one of the disconnects there is so many people are so good at fishing and understand it so well, but they fish so much that they don't focus on their personal development side, or they lack the knowledge of social media. So I had one idea. We do this program here at Mudhole. It's like a CCA youth scholarship program where we bring kids in and do like a development day and then just like show them an insane week of fishing and outdoors and conservation. I wanted to add like a professional development day where I have all the kids come in and they all take their phones and they just learn from everything I know, and then they all create content. At the end of the day, they've all learned all about social media and created content. So maybe that's what's missing, is the proper training.
Yeah, that is such an important thing, like how you're describing that, because I think a lot of parents today with social media, they're just kind of afraid of it. Like, oh no, I don't want the kids on social media. All you do is do that TikTok thing. Like, come on, get the phone out of your hand. Let's go outside. And that's fine. That's great. But social media has become something that is such an incredibly powerful tool for your own personal development, no matter what industry you choose to go into. And especially if you're going to try to go into an industry that doesn't have this paved road in front of you, like a doctor or a lawyer or something where there is this paved road. You got to do this, and then you got to do this, and you got to go to this school, and then you got to take this test, and then you go on this paved road. If you're going to try to get into the fishing industry in a way that no one else has ever done it before, that is hacking your way through the jungle, just like we were talking about before. In order to do that successfully, it is very important that you have the skills in fishing, but you got to have something else, like way more. You got to have communication skills, and then you got to bring something else to the table, because the days of just being able to be the best fisherman out there and win some tournaments and get sponsorship and just be able to continue to do that, I mean, there might be somebody out there that is that good. You just win every tournament. But even then, who's more valuable to the only reason that anyone sponsors anyone is the bottom line, and this may come as a surprise to some people, but the only reason anyone sponsors anyone is to drive sales. If you're not driving sales, there's no reason. It's not for brand building. Brand building means driving sales. So you got to be able to sell something. So there's probably somebody that wins a whole bunch of tournaments and has zero social media and zero communication skills and doesn't talk to anybody at the boat ramp and doesn't sell any product other than just they see them using it on a tournament or something and maybe they buy some, versus somebody else that may never enter a tournament and is awesome at communicating with the audience and explaining the products, and which is more valuable. Like, I don't know. I think a company is trying to determine that right now, is like, which is more valuable? I don't know. I'm kind of thinking it's this other person that does all these seminars and talks to people and videos these seminars. So he's actually in front of people with the seminars, but then he's doing videos of these seminars and now making these cool TikTok videos, and 1 million, instead of 30 people seeing him, 1 million people saw this, right? Like, that's the power of social media, I think. And that's where, I don't know, I see that it's, you have to have both. And so what I'm getting at is like your idea of teaching kids how to use social media as a tool that can help their business development in the future. They're not learning that in school. In fact, in school, they're saying, put the social media down. We're going to ban social media from these hours. Right. And like, it's not something that you should be afraid of. It's something that you should learn the power of, have a tremendous amount of respect for, and then learn to use it so that it benefits you or someone that you can work for, right? Like, I think that's a great idea, what you've got going there.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with that. I think I go about so many things in my career from the basis of what would I have wanted to see when I was a younger kid. Like, there was no information about a lot of things I wanted to do. So now I think about how can I give that information or help people who were in the same position as me. And I think sometimes that's why my content does well, because I'm thinking about it from the viewer's perspective, right, and people who are looking on and wanting to do it. But I'm going to pursue that because I've been thinking about it for a while, and I'm glad we talked about it.
That's a good idea. Hey, what do you think about, like, it wasn't very many years ago that the whole industry was kind of wondering, like, how do we get more kids involved in fishing? Like, it seems like there were video games and social media and things, and it was pulling kids away from fishing. But with the like the popularity of fishing on social media, do you think that we're currently getting more kids into fishing today than we were, I don't know, 10 years ago? Like, where do you think we are with getting new anglers, particularly young anglers, into the sport of fishing?
I don't know the data or the numbers, but I assume and I strongly believe that there's more kids getting into fishing than ever because of guys like the Guggen Squad, John B., Andrew Flair, all those guys, and guys like you who paved the way on television. You've been doing this for almost 20 years on TV. You were who all of us watched on TV with our dads on the weekends before there was YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And now that there is YouTube and it's exploded, it's just that people popularized fishing. And with the way YouTube and social media works, you might not have any interest in fishing, but you start to watch John B.'s videos and you start to like him. Like, I like this guy. I like the way he thinks. He makes fishing look so fun. I'm going to go try to fish. I'm going to go to Dick's Sporting Goods and I'm going to buy my first rod and reel, and it's going to be a Guggen Squad rod and reel because that's what he sells or what he uses. But I guess that's getting into more of the total brand building. But those guys and everyone on social media right now who's doing fishing content are just making more and more kids want to get outdoors and get fishing. So I have to assume that there's way more kids fishing now.
Yeah. Well, it seems that way, and that's certainly a good thing for the fishing industry, because that was honestly that was a real discussion point at like an ICAST. It's like, man, kids, all they want to do is play video games, and we're not getting any young kids. And I think COVID changed that a lot. I really do. I think that you had a tremendous number of, like, record numbers of fishing license sales during COVID because there wasn't much else to do, and it was a great thing for fishing. What about from a younger perspective and from someone that fishes tournaments, where do you stand, or what's your opinion on the forward-facing sonar today?
I don't have a strong opinion on it. I'm pretty removed from bass fishing now, so I haven't had much experience with it. But I've done it once on one of my friend's boats, and it was really fun. It was really cool, like watching a fish, being able to see a fish on the screen and throwing to it and getting it to eat. It's not easy. Like, there's a big learning curve with it, but it was really fun. I think it was so cool. One thing I worry about is, I guess this is a deeper thing, but as things get easier, it becomes easier for casuals and anything, but in fishing, to get better. And fishing is like a finite resource. You want more people to get into fishing because you love fishing and it does so much for you. It's healthy to fish and go outside. It clears your brain. So you'd want other people to do that. But there's only so much water and there's only so many fish. And if everybody gets better, which is happening with forward-facing sonar, and more fish are being caught, what does that do to the finite amount of fish and water we have? I don't know. That's kind of a scary thing.
Yeah.
The more people we get into fishing, the less good it becomes for everybody.
Well, maybe. Like, I get that. But I don't have a strong opinion on forward-facing sonar either. I like it. I have it on my boat, and it works great. But I haven't really found the situations to where it completely changes what I do in saltwater fishing to where I don't fish the way I used to fish anymore. I use it more as like an aid. Like if I knew that there were fish over there, well, a lot of times we can just see the fish because the water's clear and you're standing up on a polling tower or on the top of the boat, and you can see them. So you know they're there. So we had forward-facing sonar with our eyes for a long time, right? And so it's like we're not leaving because we know those fish are there, but there's plenty of other situations where you can't see the fish. And it's like, well, are they just not biting, or are they just not there? And knowing that they're there has allowed me to learn way more about those particular spots. Just having the confidence that the fish are actually there. They're just not biting, or they're not even moving. They're just laying there. And what do you do in that situation? But I don't know. People get real worked up about the forward-facing sonar debate, and it's just interesting to talk to people of different age groups about what they think. On the one hand, I think that it is one of the better ways to get younger people into the sport. Like, because you said that there's a learning curve. There is a learning curve to it.
Mm-hmm.
Not only to using it, but also having it rigged properly. And, like anybody can just throw it on there and turn it on. But when you throw it on there, turn it on, it's, it takes some adjustment, and you need to get it just right. And I think that the younger people are gravitating to it a little bit, but I don't know. I think it's a valuable tool. But I don't know that it's like this major dividing line between like fishing this way for the future and never doing what we were doing before. I don't know. That's how some people see it. Is like if it goes that way, then it's all over, right? Everybody's just looking down at their screen. Nobody's looking at anything else. You're going to see that for a while, but fish are smart. And we've had so many different techniques that are really popular and really great, and it seems like that's the way it's going. And then they kind of stop working.
Yeah, you're right.
Like one of the reasons why I think forward-facing sonar is so incredible in bass fishing is because people are actually finding fish and fishing for them in places that they had no idea that they existed, or it was possible to be effective fishing for those fish, or have the confidence that there's a whole bunch of them down here below me that I never would have fished for before. We used to just all fish the banks, right? And then the drop-offs and stuff like that, and what we could see on our sonar. But now it's like if everyone goes out there and does that and puts pressure on those fish that have never had pressure on them, those fish are smart. They're going to start going back to other places and start, doing things that are just natural for a fish. Like if I get bothered every time I go out there, well, there's also food over here, and I can be over here. And so whatever is new turns to old, and whatever is old is new again, right? Like, I don't know. People will be out there throwing wood choppers up against the bank and pulling like they used to with the lures. I don't know. I just think that I don't know. I don't think that it's one way or another. I think that there's trends and there's things that change, and it's an incredible technology. For me, it's like another tool in the tool belt or a club in the golf bag. It's like you need to be good at it, but is it the only way? I don't know.
No, you're right. I don't know. So what do you think about this then? Like, it does scare me as more people get into fishing. Does that make it less good fishing for everybody as a whole? And it becoming, because it depends where you are, but some places get way too crowded, and
yes,
social media can blow that up. That is kind of scary. But you want more people to get into fishing because it's a great thing.
Well, you do, but this is where I think that the conversation, I have not heard the conversation necessarily go in this direction very often. And that is that social media is a very important tool. We want more people into fishing. But who is using social media as a tool to show people ethical angling methods, to show people the way that you should handle a situation so that you don't make that person really mad and that person really mad. And if there's just too many boats here, I'm not going to shoehorn my way into this area. I'm going to go find something else. And, just behavior and being cordial to the other people out there and treating someone else and knowing enough about the fishing that you know what that guy's doing. And if you go in front of him right now, you're going to totally mess him up. It would be okay to come in behind him and fish the water that he's already fished in certain situations. That, I think, would be a welcome message on social media right now, is that yes, we are, whether it's trout fishing in a river or bass fishing in a lake or saltwater fishing on a flat or offshore, whatever, because I do see that is one of the things that has happened, is that the etiquette is not what it used to be.
You're totally right.
And I think that having people pay attention to that and try to instead what you do see on social media is you see that, I had this big argument with this guy and on YouTube or whatever, like, oh, it's, he ran circles around me and did all this. Well, what happened before that? Like, and why did he get so mad at you? And how could it have been avoided? Like, instead of getting the clickbait of, we had this big giant argument, Like, this is what happened, and this is, I was in the wrong, or he was in the wrong, and this is how it could have been avoided. Instead of coming right in front of me, he could have easily come right behind me, and I would have been happy for him to do that. And I would have told him all the lures I'm using and everything else. Or instead of coming right in front, and that's why we had this big argument. So if you're in this situation, do this, right? I don't see that happening. And it wouldn't,
You're right.
Honestly, it wouldn't get many views. You're going to get way more views with the drama and the big blow ups and all that stuff. And so that's how you get the views, I guess. But the message that needs to come from social media, I think, is etiquette in all forms of fishing. What is the accepted way because there are a lot of fishing situations where lots of people can do it as long as everybody's following the etiquette. Like we used to fish in Key West Harbor for tarpon, and you could have as many boats as you wanted to there. In fact, more boats was better because everybody's chumming and there's more chum going back. But your transom needed to be even with everyone else's. If you got way out in front of everyone else, now you're sitting in the middle of the fish, right? That was not acceptable. So if the transoms were even, then as many people that could fit there could fish there.
Really?
And everyone kind of started to understand that. And it's like, okay, I'm within the rules. If I do it this way, everybody's going to be mad at me. If I do it this other way, everybody's going to be mad at me. So as long as we're all good, we can all fish together. And there's so many situations in fly fishing and bass fishing and every other kind of fishing where lots of people can fish in the same spot as long as everybody is, agreeable to whatever the unwritten rules are. But that's the problem, is a lot of people don't know what the unwritten rules are. And then another problem is that if someone is trying to do one thing and then another person is trying to do another tactic, those like forward-facing sonar and drop shotting right in front of your trolling motor down there, and the other guy's trying to come through, or like in an offshore situation, one guy wants to troll through, the other guy wants to sit there. Well, I don't know. Can it be done in the same place? Maybe. I don't know. That wasn't a very good example, but there are plenty of examples where one person is messing up the other doing exactly what they want to do. And the other person is doing exactly what they want to do, but the two styles don't mix. So I don't know. I would like to see more etiquette being discussed on social media. I think that would be really good.
I think what somebody could do, maybe somebody like the ASA, the American Sport Fishing Association, is do a campaign, an etiquette campaign, where they select the right influencers who are online in each type of fishing and have them all do a series of content like talking about the etiquette in their type of fishery, because you're right, it's not going to get as many views. So my brain goes to, it has to come from people who people already recognize and know and love what they do. Like, it would have to be you and not some brand new person, or Macy Watkins, the girl who does amazing numbers on social media, John B, who you had on recently and crushes on YouTube. Like, I think a bigger organization, if they could come together and put that together for a lot of people over different types of fishing, can create those videos, the etiquette, I think that'd be great.
There you go.
That'd be a good place to start, at least.
There's your next project. Take that to the ASA. So you did a thing with the ASA recently at ICAST. What was that all about?
I did. Well, the last 4 years I've been doing this hair video where I just go around ICAST and I'm like, put my camera in people's faces and like, let me see your hair. And I just find the best hair of ICAST.
I used to have the best hair. Well, I used to have the best hair. My hair used to look like yours a long time ago.
Why'd you cut it?
Oh, I didn't cut it. I think it fell out. Yeah, I don't know. It gets. It's always good to have longer hair in the back when you're guiding, because you don't get your neck sunburned.
Yeah.
But it's also hot, and sometimes you want to just cut it off. But I don't know. I never had quite the iconic look that you do.
It is very hot. It has its pros and cons for sure, but the pros outweigh the cons usually, unless it's in Florida and it's insanely hot.
Right. So what was this thing you did at ICAST?
Yeah, so I was doing the best hair of ICAST, and then last year, similar with Mudhole, 3 years ago, I got it in my head, like, I want to work with ICAST. ICAST is like my Super Bowl every year. When I first started going there as a kid, like, I was just like a deer in headlights in a good way. Like all the pro bass fishermen were there who I looked up to and watched every day. All the YouTubers were there and all the biggest companies were there. I loved it. And I've been going since I was like 16, so like 8 or 9 years now. And I made a plan to meet everyone or meet the ICAST social media team last year. And I did. I met a guy named Alan Luck, and then I just kind of gave him a bunch of ideas I had, and I wanted to work with them. So I ended up signing a brand deal with them for a few videos for ICAST this year, including the hair video, and that was really fun. All the videos we did were super fun. There were videos in show and about the show, and then I also moderated a panel on influencers and fishing during one of their lunch and learn panels at ICAST. It was awesome.
What was the subject of the panel?
It was 4 influencers in fishing, and they were talking to business owners. So the audience was a lot of small business owners, and they were speaking to how using an influencer could benefit their business. Like if it's a brand new business, you can hire an influencer to create content, and it's not just the videos you're getting, but you're getting that influencer's audience if they're making good videos for you to now attach with your product and your brand. So it's all about that, just how small businesses can best benefit from using influencers and their media strategies. Nice. And everything about that.
Was it well attended?
It was packed. It was standing room only.
Really? Nice.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's fantastic. So you think you'll do that again next year?
I hope so. I would love to.
Yeah.
The podcast is watching.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm sure maybe somebody will be. That's cool, man. That's really cool. And it's neat to see you, you have these skills and you're really into it and you're really into fishing, and it's neat to see you really, you're making it happen, which is what's interesting to me. It's not like these things are just kind of coming to you. You're making them happen. You're interested in working with ICAST, and you're going out there and you're pitching it to them, and you're like, that's really good. And it's a place where a lot of people miss. They think, well, it could be as simple as, well, I win all these tournaments, I don't know why I'm not getting sponsored. Well, have you talked to anyone? Like, have you pitched anything? Like, what are your ideas? Well, how are your ideas different than someone else's ideas? How are you going to sell product? Like, I don't know. A lot of people just think it's just going to happen for them. And sometimes it does, but more than, 95% of the time, you have to make it happen. That's my experience anyway. All right, so we're coming up on the close here, and the last few times I've done it exactly this way, which is not exactly the way it was intended. Well, we have the hot seat, but if I end up doing the hot seat at the end of the show, it's because we've had a great conversation, and sometimes when things get slow, I throw in the hot seat, and then it gives people, with all these silly questions that I ask, it gives us something to talk about. But in this situation, we've had a great conversation. Really appreciate you being on. I wanted to let everybody know what your socials were at the beginning of the show, but I kind of neglected to do that. So tell them now how they could follow how they could follow you and Mudhole and whatever else you're attached to.
Sure. So personally, my Instagram is @hutch.jake. My TikTok is Jake Hutchison3. It's Hutcheson. My name's hard to spell, but I'm Jake Hutchison everywhere, on Facebook as well. Those are my main places you can find me: Instagram and TikTok, Jake Hutchison.
Okay, what about Mudhole?
Mudhole is @Mudhole Tackle. You can't see it here, but there's a sign above me that says @Mudhole Tackle. On TikTok, on Instagram, we're @Mudhole Tackle. On Facebook, we're Mudhole Custom Tackle, and same with YouTube.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so you ready for the hot seat series of silly questions? All right, text or call?
Call. Tournament
day or fun fishing day?
Fun fishing day.
Never fish again or never build a rod again?
Never build a rod again.
You already told me you didn't want to do that anyway. Favorite social media platform?
Instagram right now.
One piece of advice that has served you well?
Parlay whatever you're doing. Take what you're doing now and use it to get to the next thing.
Nice, like that. Least favorite Olympic sport?
Oh, I don't know.
How about a sport you didn't even know existed in the Olympics?
Shot put.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's an old sport. That one's been around for a while. I hate to tell you, but And we have a really good champion there that likes to fish, by the way, Ryan Crowder, who has won 3 Olympic gold medals. You should know this. You're a big guy. Ryan Crowder loves to fish. He's our way to go, Ryan. 3 Olympic medals.
I picked the wrong sport.
Yeah, it's okay. He's a shot putter, and he also loves to catch big bass. I noticed I just learned this yesterday. I pretend like I know. I just saw it on Instagram that he loves to fish.
I think I saw that too.
Yeah. Okay, so what sport do you think should be an Olympic sport?
Fishing.
Yes, me too. And if it was fishing, what style of fishing?
Probably saltwater, because every country around the world has some sort of access to saltwater. Or maybe it'd be bass. I don't know.
Maybe
bass.
Everyone. Maybe
or
bass.
Freshwater.
Bass has
tough.
Bass has a more kind of tournament format that is more accepted.
You're right.
So maybe it would be bass, and bass are a lot of places. Okay. Least favorite fish to catch?
None. I love catching everything.
Okay. Ultimate destination for fishing on your bucket list?
The Caribbean somewhere. Anywhere in the Caribbean.
What do you want to catch there?
I want to catch exotic snapper. There's a lot of saltwater fish I haven't caught yet, so I want to catch cuberas and I want to catch snook in like Panama. That'd be really fun.
Nice.
Or Costa Rica.
Okay. Would you rather have a hairless cat or a chihuahua?
Oh God, a chihuahua.
Favorite way to exercise?
Sports. I love playing sports.
Favorite meal?
I eat everything. I don't have
one
a favorite
thing that
meal.
comes to mind.
Gluten-free avocado toast with an egg.
Whoa, nice.
Yeah.
I was thinking that's not what I was expecting. Sunrise or sunset?
Sunset.
Do you use Head and Shoulders or fancy salon shampoo?
Fancy salon shampoo.
Whoa.
Women have. Yeah. Actually, this is a big misconception. If you got good hair, you can't do the 2-in-1 stuff. Like, it's all marketed to men, and Troy Polamalu tells us to use the Head and Shoulders, but women will tell you, and they have better hair than us, that you got to use shampoo and conditioner separately. So I listen.
Okay, well, it's obviously working. You can fish as much as you want, but you can only use one lure for one fish for the rest of your life. What are you doing?
Chatterbait.
Chatterbait for largemouth?
Yep.
All right. And what area would you do that in?
Central Florida.
Okay.
There's lakes everywhere.
Yeah. All right.
For sure.
All right. Well, that's awesome, man. Hopefully that won't happen and you can fish anywhere you want and as much as you want. But Jake, I wanted to thank you for coming on. I thought it was a great conversation. Gave us a lot of perspective on social media, where we're going with it and what we're doing. So I really appreciate it. We'll do it again.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for paving the way for me. I don't think I would be here if it wasn't for guys like you and your peers for the last 20 years creating television and coming and figuring that out and paving the way for us to do social media now. I don't think we'd be here without you and guys like you.
Thanks,
so thank
man.
you.
That means a lot, and certainly it's not me. I just followed right behind guys like Bill Dance and Roland Martin and Jimmy Houston and Jerry McInnes and those guys. I mean, but it's funny because the road backwards isn't that long. Like Jerry McInnes and Bill Dance were like the first TV shows, and Bill Dance is still doing it. Like he's still doing it, and that was the first. And it's also like when you see what Bill Dance did in the very beginning, like with product integration into a TV show, he was so far ahead of his time. That's what they're doing on Netflix now, is what Bill Dance was doing 50 years ago.
You're right.
It's amazing. I mean, it's really amazing. But yeah, well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate what you're doing. We got to work on the etiquette. We're gonna. That's gonna be your new. It's gonna be your new initiative. That and getting creators hooked up with the right companies.
I'll start on both, and they're both needed for sure.
All right. Thanks, Jake. I appreciate it, and we'll be back with another great guest like Jake next week. So tune in. We'll see you.